joint magic there of Billy Strings and Molly Tuttle covering the late great Nancy Griffith song, Listen to the Radio. And you are listening to the radio. You're listening to Celtic Music Radio. And I'm very pleased to say that our first guest of the morning has arrived and has made himself comfortable in the interview chair and the performance chair. And he was born and brought up in Aberdeen, but he's now based in Galloway in the southwest of Scotland. So a very good morning and welcome to Celtic Music Radio to Alan McClure. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here. Shall I start off with a wee song for you all?
That would be great.
Okay then, great. This first one's called None at All. Give me a trickster god, a one of many, storm-tossed on the winds of fate. I want a laughing god, confused and friendly, of open doors, not guarded gates. I want a humble god who shuns cathedrals, palaces, and minarets. I want a god of all forgotten people, a god whose people can forget. I want a God who's small and getting smaller, might just vanish without trace. I want a God who's lost his bottom dollar, a God that's scared to show his face. I want a beardless God who travels with us, no judgment in his fingertips, no lightning bolts, no salt in pillars, saves that for his fish and chips. I want a guilty God who'll beg forgiveness, weep and mourn for broken trust, who sees the ruin and knows he did this just like every one of us. I want a God of woods, a God of rivers, toadstools, beetles, worms and mud. I want a God who scorns the true believers, drowns with sinners in the flood. I want a God who knows I do not need him, a God that needs gods of his own, a God who laid no traps in Eden, a God that knows his cover's blown, a God who dances round the fire, burns it all and calls for more, a God who's wretched with desire, knows not what he's longing for. I want a God who knows without condition, does not love to gain control, who plays the bass and keeps the rhythm, saves the mic for prouder souls. I want a worried God who shakes in fear, struggles to climb out of bed. I want a God who's just as weak as we are, flinching at the day ahead. I want a God of stories, not of lessons, smiles and winks each time he lies, who has no answers, only lessons, a God that we can still surprise, a God who lifts, a God who carries, God who speaks not of a fall, who looks to us for sanctuary, God like this or none at all. God like this or none at all. A God like this or none at all. Thank you.
Alan McClure, thank you. What's the background to that song, Alan?
Well, it was just one of those ones that sort of popped in. You know, sometimes when you're writing a song, you'll get like a theme, and sometimes you have to really chip away at that and, you know, spend weeks and or whatever trying to figure out what it's about. But this one just kind of all flowed, just thinking about... I I was quite an angry atheist when I was younger, and I've evolved into sort of respectful agnosticism. But at the same time, I'm really fascinated by religion and stories of religion and things like that. And I'm not someone who thinks it's worthless or a plague on humanity or anything. It's obviously got some value, but I just got into this kind of thought stream of I'm no fair taken with great big dictators in the sky, you know. So if it's not going to be that, then what might it be? And so that was where that kind of came from.
So is that quite an old song then? Or have you been,
a couple of years old now, that one. It's on an album I did with my pal Marcus Sampson Wright down in Galloway called Not Angry, Just Disappointed, which you can find on Bandcamp if you're that way inclined.
I said in my introduction that you're based in Galloway in the southwest of Scotland, and I was interested on your website. There's a banner across the top of the website, and I'll read what it says. It says, Alan writes poetry, novels, short stories, music, humour, commissions. And these are all that you're involved in. You know, we might not get through them all today, but it also says your creative output is eclectic and prolific, encompassing oral storytelling, poetry, songs, novels, short stories, and audio sketches. Did you get a copywriter to write that, or did you write all that by yourself as a man of words?
I did write that all by myself, but it's all true. It was all true when I wrote it. I'm maybe not quite as prolific as I was when I wrote that bit, but yeah, no, I mean, I think storytelling is the starting point for all those other things. Sure. You know, the desire to just share tales. And I think we're storytelling creatures, aren't we? Like, our whole understanding of our lives is based on the stories we tell ourselves about what folk mean when they say this to us and all that kind of stuff. So storytelling is central to everything, but I'm really pleased to be able to, if an idea comes, it needn't necessarily be a story. It might end up being a song or a doodle or something like that, you know. So it's
so you take a basic idea and then develop it whichever way you see fit, either into music or into the written word,
sometimes,
or to a poem or whatever. Yeah.
That's right, and the more different things that you do, I think the more they can cross-pollinate each other. So I don't really think that hard lines between creative endeavours are very helpful. You know, if you're a creative person, you're a creative person, and you may take a wee while to find the best sort of route to express that. But the best way to find that route is to try them all and see what it takes. I think.
So has that happened to you? You've actually found a form of words, and you thought initially, will that be a poem, but it ends up as a song?
Yes, absolutely, right. Yeah. In fact, that last song probably started out a bit more like a poem, or like the first line would have come, but the longer it went, it sort of started to feel a bit like an incantation. I thought, well, this needs a wee kind of chanty sort of music thing behind it. So, you know, it's nice to have a few different strings to your bow and a few different colours on the palette, if you like.
Yeah. And in addition to all these things, writing and singing and performing, you're also a school teacher.
I am.
Primary school teacher.
Yes,
yeah.
For the time being.
All right.
This is going to be the last year that I do this. It's the best. It's so close to being the best job in the world, and then the distance from which it's not the best job in the world is just agonising, because, you know, the wains are brilliant, but the various other associated aspects are quite wearing. So I'm going to kick that into touch at the end of this year once I'm done with this class and focus on the other stuff.
And what will you do after that then?
Well, we'll see. I'm single and ready to mingle, folks. More workshops, more gigs, more writing and things like that, and hopefully just enjoy the life of a gadabout for a wee while.
That sounds good. Let's have another song then, Alan, from your vast collection.
Okay, well, since you mentioned sort of commissions and storytelling and things, and you had Susie Briggs on yesterday, who was fabulous. She's a close pal of mine, and we do a wee storytelling podcast together in Scots, accessible Scots for Waynes. And every episode she'd challenge me to write a new song around a particular favourite Scots word. And we called it the Spotify Challenge. And so this was the very first one that we did. She challenged me to write a song with the word Shoogle as the title. So here we go. Here's the Shoogle song. Well, daft wee Dougal, he's feeling guy-low. He's at school in the morning and he doesn't want to go. He's a pain in his peenie and a cramp in his toe. You ken the feeling, I'm sure. He cries out to his mammy, I can't stand the pain. I'm gonna bite it in my scratcher, so just leave me alone. And I haven't did my homework and I'll have to explain myself to Mr. McClure. He roared and he cracked in some distress. I can't see my way out of this mess. Come on, Dougal, Gie yoursel a shoogle, spin away your worries, way force the centrifugal. You've been a bitty glaikit, but the world will understand. Come on, Dougal, the answer's no on Google. If anyone can sort it out, I'm pretty sure that you will. You'll have to face the music, but then you will be grand. So up Dougal loups and he pets on his clays, and he gies a sell a shoogle for his shooters to his tays. All his daft wee worries, they get shoogled away. Now he's raring to go. He's so much better for a shoogle and shake that he can straight up to the teacher and admits his mistake. The teacher says, "Ach, just do your homework and break, and we'll say no more." Well, that takes 5 minutes out the day. Then it's 10 out to 10 and out to play. So here's Dougal, brassy as a bugle. The work is all done and he's a positive pupil. He thinks so his worries and he can't help but laugh. Now this is crucial, it's really no unusual. We all hear worries and they can really be brutal. But maybe like Dougal we could try to shoogle them out.
Thank you.
That's really good. It's maybe a daft question, Alan, but do you have any preference for, like, do you favour singing and performing over writing a book or creating a bit of film, or is it just depend on the mood you're in on a day?
No, I have a definite preference. That's a really good question, actually. My definite preference is playing to a wee group of folk, you know.
Right.
My ideal kind of situation is probably a room, an unamplified gig with a few other musicians just taking turns and having a wee session, you know. I absolutely love that. I think when music can become more than the sum of its parts and there's opportunities for happy accidents to happen in the moment, that's where things really get magical. And actually, you know, the same is true of storytelling, you know, live storytelling. Anything that's kind of happening in the minute and never to be repeated, I prefer that to sort of trying to get the perfect, you know, the perfect recording or the perfect set of words for the page or something like that. I think it's nice to be bouncing off the energies of the folk around you in the minute. That's kind of my favourite thing to do.
It's kind of a free-for-all approach in some senses. You know, you've got to get a finite product at some stage, but in the run-up to that, you don't want to be too restrictive.
That's it. And I think anybody who's kind of trying to be creative in this day and age has to square the circle of, is the important thing the creativity, or is the important thing what remuneration you might get from that creativity? But I've been at this for a long time and I know there's no remuneration at all to be made to speak of. So really, if you want to value what you're doing, the value you have to put on it is how much fun you have making it, I think, and how effectively it reaches other folk. So, you know, if you're playing things that other people seem to enjoy, you can see that in the minute in a room with folk. You know, they might join in, sing along, have a wee minute, and that's, to me, that's more important than, you know, the number of streams you've had that month or something like that. So I'm in a fortunate position, though. I don't have to live off my wits at the minute, which is probably just as well.
You're playing music for us today. When did you first start having an interest in music and listening to music or learning music?
An interest in songwriting sort of came about when I was about 17, because I met a songwriter, a real live actual songwriter. When in Freshers Week at uni in Aberdeen, I met a chap called Ian Simpson, who isn't producing much these days, but he was just brilliant, bona fide, played guitar, wrote words, and I thought, gosh, I didn't realise real people could do that. I thought that was just the folk on the radio that did that. And not only was he someone who was really good at it, but he was unbelievably supportive and encouraging when I thought I might have a wee go. So I just utterly lucked out with the kind of first musical interactions I had. And so I got a guitar for my Christmas that year, and then once I'd learnt my second chord, I was into songwriting, and that was kind of it. That's been the...
So in addition to Ian, what other sort of musical influences would you say have played in your writing?
I guess that the biggest influences have been friends of mine, so folks that you won't have heard of necessarily, because the people I've been with, I've been able to collaborate with, and we've developed together. So we've got Ian, we've got my cousin Ross McClure, who I might play a song by in a wee second, actually, if you'd let me.
Of course.
And down in Gatehurst, there's a huge group of folk: Harry Thompson, Susie Briggs, of course, who you all met yesterday. I've spent time in Hull. My wife's from Hull, and there's a huge swathe of musicians there. But in terms of music to listen to, I suppose, lyrically, I'm fascinated by the likes of Leonard Cohen and Bob Dylan and Paul Simon, the folks who really want to try and tell a story, or really use language musically as well as the musically, if you know what I mean. But I also like a good old boogie now and again, so and I like to sing at the top of my lungs with anthemic, James and Oasis and that sort of fairly middle of the road stadium rock, if you have to have.
So there's no barriers to what you can enjoy or what you want to try and perform.
No, and I think I'm really careful these days to talk about musical tastes, because I'm aware fellas in particular have a habit of being quite, elitist in what they like often. And I really think if music hits you, it doesn't even matter what the music is. If you're being moved by music, then the job's a good one. So it could be anything at all. And I teach Waynes, so they're not going to know they haven't deep dived into the Incredible String Band's back catalogue or anything. But if they come in and say, this Taylor Swift song is the greatest thing ever, I believe them. For them, it is. That's fine. So music's for everybody, I reckon. Okay,
so we're going to get a Taylor Swift song now then, or the one that's written by your cousin.
I think maybe we'll go with my cousin Ross's one, actually. That's
okay, Alan.
So my cousin Ross goes by various names but he's very, very humble, and he doesn't publicise himself enough. So not many folk have heard his songs. But if you went on Bandcamp and looked for Goblin Cat or Sonic Child or Dead Leaves, you might stumble across some of his stuff. This song's called Evil Eye, and I just think it's as close to a perfect song as you can get. It's sad and beautiful. Here we go.
This is Alan McClure.
Evil eye does what it wants by its own light in the dark night, hovering silently by its own power in the witching hour. Evil eye, if you can fly, fly away. No sé cómo amarte. Has no lair, but it burrows in most everywhere, preying on distracted minds, trying to make their way through a strange landscape. Evil eye, if you won't die, turn away. No sé cómo amarte. But it's always there at the top of the stair.
Thank you.
Your cousin owes you one.
Say again, sorry?
He owes you one.
I owe him loads.
That's a really good track, isn't it?
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very good.
Yeah.
You are not consumed by the music but you're very, very busy in music. What are the plans for 2025 in addition to music?
In addition to the music, I had a lovely wee boost, totally unexpected, a huge honour. The Federation of Writers Scotland have asked me to be their screever this year, which means putting on various events over the year for the members of the Federation. It's a group of volunteers, writers of all sorts, non-fiction, fiction, children's, adults and things, and it's free to join, by the way, so anybody who's listening who is of a writerly bent should look into joining. I'd really like to advocate for more songwriters to join that, because I think songwriting is undervalued from the writing point of view these days. Do you know, I think we've got thousands of great poets that everyone knows about and fantastic novelists, but the song, the almost like the linguistic or the language element of songwriting sort of falls by the wayside almost. Because there's a lot of very, very kind of banal lyrics out there, but when you get to it, you can be a great writer. You know, we've had a Nobel Prize for Literature winner in Bob Dylan, haven't we? So we know that lyrics are real writing. So there's that this year. There's
Is that a post you apply for, or is that a
Do you know, I got an email out of the blue. No,
Right.
I didn't even know they knew I existed, so I was really chuffed. I think they asked me because I write for children, and they haven't really had a children's writer in the role before, so they're hoping to get more kind of attention on the Scottish children's writing scene, which is a great scene, and I've got loads of ideas, but we'll see how they all play out. I want to interview some Scottish children's authors. I'm lucky to know some of the best ones out there, so just shining a light on what's going on and easing folk up if I can.
And there are a few set piece events, or is that a kind of rolling programme, or
It's going to be a rolling
do
program.
you have a one set piece?
There'll be a poetry competition, I think a writing competition coming up later in the year. There's a Burns event tomorrow night, a Zoom one that folk can join in with. But if you're interested, folks, check out the webpage or the Facebook page for the Federation of Writers Scotland.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, thank you very
Good,
much.
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
I'm just aware of the time, and you've come a long way, so let's have another song.
Righto.
At the moment, this will probably be our time for our last song, if that's okay.
No problem, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll end on a wee thought for one then. I do write kind of in response to things I see in the news, like a lot of writers do, as well as things what's going on in my own personal life. So this is one from a few years ago that is about horrendous things that have happened to some young lassies south of the border, and unfortunately in the news yesterday up here as well, you know. But I'll play the tune, and it's fairly self-evident. You'll probably get it. It's called "They Know." I'm going to start again. Hey. On the corner by the school, that's where they warn her to keep her cool. She shrugs her shoulders. It's this again. Same old story, just different men. And all those who ask where she goes, they know, they must know. In the hostel, curtains drawn, something precious is lost and gone. No one to turn to, no one to help. She has to face this all by herself. And all those who ask where she goes, they know, they must know. And all those who act like she chose, they know, they must know.
I don't hide, and I don't lie. All this is right here in my eyes, just waiting for you to see. If you could only look at me, frozen till I hear someone say, oh, hey kid, are you okay?
Thank you.
Alan McClure, thank you so much. Beautiful song to end off your session with us this morning at Celtic Music Radio. Good luck with the big project.
Thank you very much indeed. Pleasure to be here. Cheers,
Okay.
folks.